Okay. Yeah, so why don't we get started? So this is our rebooting of the special interest group initiative that we had started last year, early last year, I guess. Maybe it was even 2 years ago, we did a survey of members looking for newer things to do in addition to the programs that we already have. And in particular, we were looking for things that might appeal to people that were relatively inexperienced or, at least interested in learning something they hadn't used before. And Lightroom is something that a lot of us use, and so if you've been to any meeting, you're almost certain to have seen Lightroom. And if you've wondered how to use it, this is the second session actually in attempting to teach you some of the basics of Lightroom. John did a session, when was it? Sometime before the pandemic blur happened, about managing photos. But this session is going to be about how to deal with getting your photos into Lightroom and how to manage them once they're in the library, as it's called. I think of Lightroom's biggest strength, or one of its biggest strengths, is that it's really a database, an easy to use database, but nonetheless a database that has all the aspects or good features of a database. It lets you find things, lets you catalog things, lets you organize things in many different ways. And the library is sort of the key interface to that organization process. It's also the way you can find things that you've organized. If you've forgotten where they were, the library can help you find them. So anyway, that's just by way of introduction. I'll hand it over to John in a minute. Mary McDowell is on this call too. She's going to be watching. If you want to ask John a question while he's talking, he may not notice that you're trying to do that, but you can either raise your hand, Mary will watch for that, or you can send a message on chat to Mary saying, I'd like to ask John a question, and then she'll figure out how to get his attention with a chat or something. So if you want to make it interactive, keep in mind that's the way we plan on doing that. At some point, John may want to just stop and ask people if they have questions about something he's just covered, and that will be fine too. That John can sort of run the meeting however he wants. So, okay, John, you're ready to go then?
All righty. Is everybody seeing my presentation slide here?
Yep.
Is that?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
So Lightroom and the photographic process. I always look at this as a process, and when you take a picture, the inputs to that process are the light for a moment of time, a 60th of a second, a 120th, whatever it is. Then something magical happens, and eventually you get to look at it someplace. So the question is, what is this process all about? And I break it down into 4 pieces. The capture, which happens in your camera. Once you've got it on a card, you got to do digital asset management in order to do something with it. To edit it goes back to digital asset and works back and forth. And finally, the output has to happen in order for you to see something, whether it's a screen or a print or Facebook or anything. So Lightroom is designed to take care of those last 3 steps: asset management, editing, and output. So tonight, I just wanted to talk about that asset management piece of things. But to understand how everything works, sometimes there's some misconceptions as to what's going on. When you take a picture, the camera takes that bit of light and it falls on a sensor, and that information is recorded to a memory card. The camera processes that data into a JPEG or it leaves it raw and saves it. And it can save both if you want to. It also processes that data to produce a small viewable picture that you look at on your camera. So what you see on your camera is not the original file. It's a generated picture, okay? And then the camera is also recording other relevant data, the metadata and all that sort of things. Finally, you take the card out to put it in the computer. Lightroom, well, yeah, is designed to get the pictures off that card in the computer, sort them out, organize them so you can find it, all that sort of thing, protect things from loss. So what we want to do is take a look at Lightroom here. When you fire up Lightroom, you get a screen that looks like this. And basically what you've got here is 5 windows. If you think of this as 5 different windows. This top one, and let me get this down out of the way so I can work with it just a little bit. Come here, you. There we go. All right. This top window is nothing but kind of a header. Over here on the left, it's got my name. On the right are the various modules. Now you can modify all this. If you right click in this header up here, and you see other things you can have instead of, upper left-hand corner, you can see the Adobe Lightroom Classic header. I prefer the personalized header, which is all editable. Same thing, right click and go down here to edit identity plate, and it brings up this screen, and you can change the colors, you can change the fonts, the sizes, all that good stuff. Not a major point, but it's nice to be able to do things. Particularly, I like being able to change the colors up here so I can see exactly which module I'm in at any one time. So there's some neat stuff going on there. 4 other windows that are going on here. Around the outside, this one on the left is basically navigator window and shows you where you are in doing things. You can do things like if you move the cursor real slow across the intersection here, you see it changes, and you can change the size of things. That comes in handy when you're down the road trying to do something and you want some more space in the middle to work with. Particularly if you have a small screen, you can actually totally get rid of it. By these, you see the little arrows all 4 sides. So you can get rid of any one of these. You can get rid of the one on the top too. So that helps you in this middle screen, making it bigger when you get to the editing point of things. Same on the right. On the right side is, bring this over here. Okay. This is, we're in the library module. So, and that's really all I wanted to talk about tonight. But it gives you some actions that can take. This is where things are on the left, and information you want to add to the photo on the right. When you first start up, chances are Lightroom remembers where it was when you signed off. So what we're looking at here, is something called the Quick Collection. And that's a specialized collection for gathering up photos on a temporary basis. That's really, really handy. So you look over here on the left, you see there's all photographs, all synced photographs, which is stuff that I put out to Adobe's cloud. Some other ways to get information, previous import, so on and so forth. So down further, it's to the area that says folders. And basically now you're looking at your computer the same way you would on Finder if you're on a Mac or whatever the Windows equivalent is these days. It's been so long since I used Windows, I don't remember. But this is the file structure on the hard drive you're looking at. You can look at various hard drives. The Mac HD is the one in the computer. G drive here is an independent big drive that I store all my photos on. iPad is on here as a link. But these are the actual photographic files. Keep everything in one file folder called photos. This one that you see here that's TACC is a separate folder I created for the times I get roped into doing a critique. So I'll put people's pictures in there. Don't get it mixed up with my own photos. If I expand that, you see a whole bunch of folders underneath photos. And anytime I can get to every photo I've got is in that one photo folder. It doesn't need to be as wide as this. You see my photo library 1 and 2. Some years ago, Lightroom would get hung up if you had too many pictures in it. Something over 20, 30, 40,000 shots, Lightroom would all of a sudden die and slow up. Well, they fixed that many iterations ago, but I'd already set up two separate folders for speed purposes. Just keep drilling down. This is everything I took in 2015, and here it is month by month. And that's the way I organized things back then. Now, collections has become really important. Just to quickly show you what happens when you go to the develop module. All the file folders disappear and all you've got is collections. So basically the idea is then to put all your photos in a collection, then you can get to it in the develop module. You'll notice that when I open up a group here, the other ones don't go away. If you right click in any one of these bars, it shows you what catalogs are there. If you don't want to see one, you can turn it off. You can make it go to solo mode, which collapses everything but the one you're using. And that's really good for working. It cleans up things quite a bit. Collections are virtual folders. So you can make as many collections as you want. You got 100 of them here. Personally, I use them more like keywords than doing keywording directly into the file. So essentially, these become my, instead of searching by keyword, I can search by collection. And it's the same, you can set it up the same way. You can add, okay, here's all landscapes and various places. So I can set up different collections for each one of those. Published services is, things SmugMug and Flickr and other outside organizations. Leave it on turn. I don't use it very much. And we get down to the import and export buttons. I'll come back to. Going around the screen, down on the bottom, I can do the same thing. Make it bigger, smaller on this bottom window. And basically, this is a roll of everything you've got in this middle section. So if you double click on one of those, you can look at a single shot, but you've got all the rest of them down here, down at the bottom. So you can get to them really, really fast. And on the right side, there's also a button down there to get rid of things. If you want to desire, same thing on the right. Another button, there's a drag it left or right to some extent. You've got a histogram of a particular photograph. Quick Develop lets you apply a preset. Lightroom comes with a bunch of presets. You can do some of the basic editing here. Not necessary, but sometimes you want to do it on a whole bunch of them in a hurry, and you can do it there. Keywords are here. And keywords sets. And the list of keywords. I've been building this thing for a long time, so I've got just a ton of them. I basically don't use it anymore. Same thing over here again. I can right click, go to solo mode, and only look at one of these things at a time. Metadata for the given selected picture, all the various things, the time, the original file name, the Canon camera, date. If you've got GPS, all that information will be plugged in here automatically, and you don't have to worry about it. So, oops. Here in the middle, this is the most important screen. This one you can't get rid of. And you can only affect it by changing the size of it by changing the outside. But the bottom row down here lets you do things. Bottom left-hand corner, this is the grid, puts you back to this view. Or on the opposite corner, you can control the thumbnail size. So you can get it up big enough where you can see a little bit better. These thumbnails are the ones that they basically, well, we talked about how these come together a little bit later. You can look again across the bottom, the grid view, the single view. You can also double click on one and it takes you to the single view. Next thing over, it says XY. What that lets you do is compare two shots side by side and select a candidate. You can compare them then side by side. Not very good at this for this situation, but where you have two similar shots and you want to look at them side by side, that's the way to do it. XY down here. The next button over lets you look at yeah, let me try that one more time. Click on the button. No, come on. There we go. Look at multiples. You hold down the command key and select a bunch, and it'll, so you can look at 4 of them, however many you want together. One back here. Lightroom now has the ability to search for faces. You can instruct it to look for grandma, and it'll go find all the pictures of grandma, whatever, something like that. We can do you got a sort like this. You can sort by several different ways, invert it back and forth. This is not a good example of what's going on here, but anyhow, you can sort by flags. You take a, come on, you silly thing. Great, I'm confusing it. And give it a second here. I don't know why it's doing that. For some reason it won't. There we go. No. These two buttons let you rotate things. There we go. Okay.
John?
So, yeah.
John?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure probably everybody's seeing this, but there's a pretty significant lag between when I think you move your mouse and the screen reacts. And one thing I'm wondering that might alleviate that is if most of us turn off our cameras, turn off your video, because what's happening now is we're all sending a video picture up to the Zoom server, and then it's consolidating it and sending all those bits back to us. And I think I'm just curious to see if it goes faster if we turn off our videos. It may or may not, but if you don't mind trying that, let's see how that works. So. Okay, sorry to interrupt, but go ahead.
Okay. For some reason, I seem to be locked into those 4 pictures. Yeah. There we go. I've got Lightroom locked up on me a little bit. Hang on. Oops. For some reason, I seem to be having a little confused Lightroom a little bit. I don't know why. Sorry about that, group. We can do everything but select the photograph for some reason. Yeah, that's working. Okay. Well, I don't know why it's giving me trouble here.
You want to just restart it? That often fixes problems.
Yeah. Let me do that. Real quick. Interesting. There we go. Now we're working. Okay. Okay. We've got a library here, and it can be a folder or photos from your hard drive. It can be a collection. You can keep a collection or use this quick collection. The reason it's called a quick collection is that anytime you're looking at a photo, all you have to do is hit the letter B and it will put it into the quick collection or take it out. So it's a good, fast way to gather up a bunch of photos from around the world. You can then sort them or put them into some other collection, a permanent collection, or export them or whatever. Up here at the top of this window, the library filter, and you see over here it says filters off. Well, you can change that and filter the information you've got on the screen to basically anything you want. If you want to look at a date, boom, there's the date. The type, the lens you use, the camera you use, whether they're labeled or not, or all sorts of other things, attributes. Let's see, where is it? Unlock this thing. Come here. There we go. So you can put any of these things in these columns. You can add columns in the sort. So if you only want to look for F4 pictures, you know, there it is, aperture. You click on it. There's all 4 of these were taken at f5.6. Just that easy to find anything any way you can think about.
John?
Yeah.
I think we're not seeing that window that comes up.
Yep.
And I suspect that's because of the way Zoom is working, right? So when you do a filter, I think.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's not showing anything that you're doing on my side. I just figured it was maybe my internet, but
No,
I can hear you talking and you're doing something, but I can't see it.
Yeah, it's a separate window and Zoom isn't picking up that window. It may not be smart
Yeah,
to know that.
it is, but something, the problem I had earlier, I think, is jam things up.
Oh,
Here we go. Sharing is paused. See if that does the trick. Well, it doesn't seem to want to work either. So I'm going to stop sharing for the moment. And start that over. Share screen.
so are you sharing just the Lightroom window or your whole desktop?
No, I was sharing the other one as well. This
Oh.
time I'll just share the Lightroom.
Okay.
How about now? You're seeing the all
Oh,
the
yeah.
stuff I did. Let me
Good.
just-
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, we can see it now.
This all happened in this top line up here, just below where it says library. This is what you were seeing before. Over here to the right, it says no filter. Well, you can change that to any one of these things or add or subtract information. So if you want to look at everything shot with the 400 millimeter lens, there they are. Okay. So this is a real handy way to find stuff by the metadata, by camera, by if you put information in, you can do all that sort of stuff. Turn the filters off and you just basically see everything. So
it's probably worth emphasizing, John, that it's looking at the space you picked over there on the left, right? You could pick all photographs and then it would look for all your photographs for the 400 millimeter lens. Or if you just pick a collection, it only looks inside that collection.
yeah, well, yeah, that's all it did, is it's just looking inside the stuff that's in this window
Right.
that you're looking at. So if you're in a folder with lots and lots stuff in it, you can do the same thing. So I want to look for stuff with camera info. Now I want to look for the 400 millimeter pictures, and there's 426 of them in this group. So it's easy to find based on metadata.
John, this is Mary McDowell. So when you put your images in there, Lightroom reads the metadata that has been captured in that image or in that file, I guess would be the better word. Is that right?
Yes, it captures everything that the camera put in, and you can do things to add to it. And I guess I'll show you that here in a second. So basically, Lightroom's organization is working top to bottom and left to right. It's kind of the rule of thumb and everything you go through. So let's maybe take a look at the import stuff, because we need to get the photographs out of the camera and onto the hard drives.
John, this is Lisa. Can I ask a quick question?
Certainly.
I wondered if I had an extra 2 or 3 photos, because I do a lot of weddings, and I just want to add 2 or 3 photos that are on my desktop to the collection that you might have up on that wall right now. I thought of that because you had the church in there.
Sure.
And I wanted to add those 3 from my desktop into Lightroom. I don't really know how to do that without, making it come up into its own spot again. I know there's a way to add to your collection. If I had 3 things, like 3 extra pictures, and I stuck them in a folder on my desktop, how could I add those 3 pictures right into whatever collection you have on there right now?
Let me see
if you wanted to add pictures to your collection that you have up already, I know there's a way to add it, but I don't know how to do that.
I'm not 100% sure about how to get it into a collection.
Okay.
But it may very well work the same way as getting it onto the hard drive. If you've got, well, you can't see it on here.
Yeah, I don't want to mix you up because you're already talking about something else. I just I figured if you knew it quickly, I don't want to.
You've got them on your desktop.
Yep.
and you select however many, 3.
Yep.
You can then drag them right into Lightroom
Oh, okay.
and drop it wherever you want.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Into-
Okay.
Into the folder, into,
Okay.
I think it'll go into collection. I'm not 100% certain. You can try
Okay. I've never dragged and dropped before. I'm always afraid of doing something wrong.
it.
Thank you.
The thing to remember is that Lightroom doesn't mess with your photographs files.
Right.
Unless the only thing it'll do is change its name.
Okay.
You can change the name if you want to move a photograph. For instance, I don't know, whatever the heck this is. Three moons.
Okay.
I can effectively drag them, drag it
Okay.
to another.
Okay. I've never done that
folder.
before. Okay. Thanks.
Watch this. See, watch that 2 and 58. So now it moved it from this
Okay.
folder to that folder.
All right.
So
Thank you.
You can affect its location, its physical location, but you really got to work at it. You got to drag and drop and
Okay.
that sort of thing.
All right. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Okay, let me go to the import screen. And it's a whole lot like the other ones we've been looking at. Now, I took some pictures over the last few days, and I've got my digital card in the card reader and attached to the computer here. And these are the pictures that are on. So very similar sort of thing, left to right. Up on the top, it says, this is from the EOS Digital. If you want to go from someplace else, you just select it. And this is your process. From, what do you want to do? Copy it as DNG, copy. This says move or add. If it's on the card, you probably don't want to. Just depends on what you're doing, what's lit up here. So anyhow, it's good. Right now, it's going to copy to a G drive, which is where I keep all of my photos. Okay. Now we're looking at some thumbnails here. These are the thumbnails the camera created. These are not the ones that are not a full-size file. Just kind of go through a couple of things here. Down this one, there is no, you can't resize the screen, this window. It's all one window. But you can get all photos, new photos, destination folders. Oh. Probably haven't called any yet. So these grayed out are duplicates. And somewhere in here it says, don't, not here, check all. Yeah, right here. Over on the right side, it says, don't import suspected duplicates. So you've already got one in Lightroom, you don't want another one. You just leave that checked and go. The build previews. This is an important one. There's 4 choices: minimal, embedded in sidecar, standard, and 1:1. Minimal is basically what you got out of the camera. It's like 50 by 100 pixels, whatever. Little teeny tiny dude. Embedded in sidecar is a little bit bigger, but it's not complete. Standard is, again, it's like an 8 by 10. Okay. 1:1 is the full boat, the whole photograph rendered to 4,000 by 6,000 pixels. The problem is the reason you use any one of these is speed. Minimal, it'll be lightning fast, but it's when you get to look at it here, you can't. It's not a very good picture. Standard gives you the best look at it at the fastest speed. If you go 1:1, you import 100 pictures, you might be half an hour getting them all rendered. That's basically the full size. When you go, we finally import this, and go back over, put that out. Go back over here. Did you notice how that took a second to clear up? That's because it's a standard preview. And when you get to the develop module, now you're blowing it up to full size. You're getting the whole, all the data coming from the file. So it takes a second for it to draw it when you get over here. So, okay. You probably want to use a standard preset. It's the best preview. It's the best compromise between speed and seeing everything you want to see. A smart preview. The only reason to use a smart preview is if you want to take your laptop on the road and you want your whole library with you. That's an editable file, but it's pretty good size. It's not the whole thing, but it's enough that you can edit, make changes, see what it's actually doing. And when you come back and plug in your computer to your main hard drive, it'll update. And so it's basically for people who want to work on the road someplace with their files. But it takes a long time to, again, to make that up. Right here, getting ready to import. We can add it to a collection right at this point. You click that, it'll give you your collections. You want to put them all into whatever. If you want a new collection, it's got a little plus sign there. Don't have to do it at this point. You can do it later. Sometimes you go out and you make do a shoot and come back and it's half landscapes and half family shots and whatever, all that bunch of different things. So you're limited to just one collection. So a lot of times I don't do anything here. I'll wait till I get it into the other screen and then start dragging photos into given collections if they're different. Okay. Renaming. 917A1906.cr3 is not very descriptive of anything. So this lets you rename your files. There's a series of templates here. If you click edit, you can create your own. I use what I call JAG standard, JAG being me. And it's what it is some text and then the date. I've done this for a long time. Probably not, the date is not necessary. As I showed you, the sorting part of it is far more powerful than it used to be. Right down here at the bottom, it says sample. So now I can see what the thing is going to look like. This is going to be the name of the file on the hard drive. It also give you a start number. If you go out and shoot in the morning and shoot 150 shots, the way I do it, I put basically the date in the file. So 1 through 150 in the morning, but I come back and all of a sudden want to start in the afternoon and download some more. You can change this to 100, 151 or whatever you want, and start numbering at the new point. So that's handy for that sort of thing. Apply during import. You can give it settings, and I have a what I call basic lens, and basically that just turns on the lens information. You can, if you want to make them all black and white, you can do that. You can just go ahead and convert them to black and white right here. Any of this stuff is available for you to do something with. So you can see all the things that are available, quite a bit. I got some, this on one is a separate program that I occasionally use and have got. Biggie is destination. Usually people get hung up on, I don't know where my photographs are after I've imported them. This is where you tell it where to put them. I'm going to put them on my G drive. I'm going to put them under the photos. What you're seeing here is all these pictures in the import thing as to where they're going to go. It's going to go in a 2020 file, December month, and December 20th. Those 4 pictures are these first 4 up here, and so on. And let's see, where is that? Come back here. Probably you want to tell it to go into a subfolder. You can organize by whatever you like. I use the date because I've just been using that for 15 years and hate to change anything at this point. The date format gives you all sorts of choices. This one is really nice because it puts things in chronological order. So okay, where the hell we go? There we are. Why is that? Oh. Oh. All right. I don't know why it's giving me so much trouble today, but so all these pictures here on the right, want them in a 2021 folder. That's the problem. It's in the wrong spot. And this stuff you can basically just drag.
Don, do you have to press anything to save them in that, or are they automatically saved for you once they're in? I mean, I understand that you have to save your collection or you have to save things after.
Right
but
now,
Just something.
right now, all we're
showing
doing
us right
is
now.
copying the pictures from your card to, in my case, an external hard drive. And I'm
Okay.
telling it where to put the pictures. And it's basically up here at the top.
Right,
Copy DNG or copy. I use the DNG for the most part.
yep,
So now I've told it where to put the copies.
okay,
And I'm going to import things now. And it's copying stuff off the card to the hard drive.
yeah. I wasn't sure where we were for a moment
Yeah.
there.
This takes a minute.
So the import is like a save in effect. It implements what you told it to do and the
Import
picture
is-
saved. Yeah.
Right. Basically, you've been telling it over here on the right what to do. As soon as you hit import, now it starts moving it and it puts them in. It puts them in this file. Now, up here in the upper left-hand corner, well, I can do things with this picture now. It's converting it to DNG. So you can start looking and doing things. It takes a few minutes to finish the conversion. It's not very well focused, but you know. So again, I can, this central thing I can go to, I can either hit G or this icon down in the lower left-hand corner. I've got this whole set of pictures. Okay, 15, fine. Now I want to put them into a catalog, for instance. I just select them all and probably deselect that one. I want them in a collection. So where is it? There we go. I'm going to put them all under cats. Now I can go to my cats collection. And here they are down at the bottom. And now is when I start working with them. So again, the reason you put them into collections right away is that when you go to the develop module, the file folders no longer are there in that window. So if you have it in a collection, it's easier to find them.
It's 8 o'clock.
So this is another in the library module. I guess I showed you this, the XY business. It's the same picture. So now I can look at them side by side and decide whether I like them or not. And compare. We can zoom in and out. Sync means make the settings the same. So if I've edited one and or cropped it or anything else, it'll take the settings off the first picture and put them on the second. So you don't have to re-edit the second picture. You can just sync it and it's done. There's a lot of other stuff, but really should have focused that better. There's just so much about Lightroom. It's hard to cover it all, but once you learn your way around the software a little bit, it's not near as scary. The thing to remember is that when you're in here working in Lightroom, you're not working with the physical file. All you did to the physical file was rename it. But you're working in the Lightroom catalog. The catalog keeps track of where the files are. It keeps track of the edits you want to make. And keeps all that organized. So your catalog may be very large, but it's got all 100,000 pictures in it and all the edits that you want to make. It keeps track of all that. It may create a sidecar file that it attaches, gives it basically the same name as the photograph, but calls it .xmp, and it'll save it with the original file. If you make it a DNG, it just folds that little file into the bigger file, and away you go. That's the main reason for DNG, is it's more universal. Are there questions, anybody? I don't know if I've helped anybody or not, but.
I could unmute everybody, I think.
Yeah, okay, everybody's.
Maybe not.
John,
Yeah.
There we go. Hello.
John, can you hear me?
Yep.
The sidecar file for your DNG, is it better to use a DNG or just a raw copy for the sidecar? I think I've lost sidecars when I've changed names of files. Is that possible?
Well, if you make a DNG out of the file that incorporates the sidecar file, if you leave it as a raw CR2, whatever, CR3, the Nikon, whatever it may be, you have two files. So you do have the possibility of them getting separated.
Okay,
If you,
thank you. I appreciate that. I think it's probably better to make the DNG then, because I really am sure I've lost files.
yeah, you can do that. I never worry too much about losing the XMPs because half the time I've learned something about developing and that sort of thing. And what I do today is a lot better than what I did a year ago. So, that's another thing. As long as I have the original file, I feel pretty good.
Okay, thank you.
John, Leo had a question. His question is, sometimes he uses an external drive. Sometimes it gets labeled F or G or even H, depending on what else is happening. This confuses Lightroom. Is there a workaround? Is Leo's question.
Okay, probably the way that happens is when you have multiple drives and you unplug them and plug them back in and that sort of thing. Because the software will try and make it A, B, C, D, E, F. Well, if B goes away for some reason, gets unplugged, and you restart, F becomes E. And I'm sure that's what the problem is. I guess I don't know of a workaround for that. You can
Well,
what you have to do is go to what your word is. There's a find missing photos. And all you got to do is find the first one and it'll change it. It's up under where is it? Right there. It's under the library menu in the top. You can't see it on the screen, but you're seeing the result. If you go all the way to the top where it says, the Lightroom Classic file or file menu under the library, then the find missing photos is under there. So it's not too big a deal. It's just kind of annoying.
yeah, I think it sounds like a Windows problem. Windows uses letters like that. There is a way in Windows to assign a permanent letter to a particular physical drive. I don't remember how to do that, but that's another possibility. So you say Windows, when it sees an external drive, you can look at it and the drive has a name. And there's a table somewhere you can say, always call this drive E, and then that would solve the problem. So I'd look into that. What John says would work too. Once, if you can't find photos in Lightroom, if you can find where they are and point to that, then it'll fix that. But you don't want to do that every time you connect the drive in a different place. It gets to be tiresome. So.
I use Windows, and I found that if I plug it into the same USB port every time, it names it the same every time. If I change USB ports, then it'll give it a different letter.
Huh. Yeah, try that too.
There he is.
You definitely want all your photographs saved on an external hard drive and not on the internal drive of the computer. Just for safety's sake. It's easier to back up.
Yeah, the other thing I would point out here is, think a little bit about backing up, particularly when you're like John and me, you've got hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of photos anyway. You don't want to lose them because one disk drive fails. So you have to have a backup plan. Clearly, you want to back up all these pictures you imported, those files. But the other thing that's really important to back up is the Lightroom catalog. Lightroom will put that somewhere probably on your primary drive. And it's up to you to decide how you're going to back that thing up. And that has all the data. I mean, if you lose that, then you've still got all your pictures, but you've lost all the editing, all the organization, everything else. So the catalog is just about as important as all the pictures themselves. So keep that in mind.
I lost you guys for a second. I don't know what happened, but that's exactly what I wanted to hear, is how people were backing up their catalogs. Is there
Basically-
a particular way? I mean, some people are doing Lightroom right from an external hard drive. Some of my friends are, which I don't do. But how do you back up that catalog is what I was going to ask you. I mean, I have a server, I could back up on that.
Yeah, I back up basically my whole computer.
Yeah, I do that too,
And-
but
And I make sure that the catalog is on the computer, so you can't see it on.
because it seems like the catalog is the one, it's the whole Lightroom. So it seems as though that's what's taking up the majority of space in a computer and not necessarily just your pictures that you have on your computer. From what somebody told me, that's your documents.
Yeah, if you go up to where it says Lightroom Classic up in the upper left-hand corner in the main menu,
Yep.
it preferences and then catalog settings.
Okay.
Now, that tells you just exactly how big your catalog is. It tells you where it is, what it's called.
Yeah, it'd be
And then
important to know
basically
how big
you
it
can-
is, I guess.
You can change it in here someplace.
Now, this might be a dumb question, but after you've imported your pictures into Lightroom and you had, let's say 40, 50 pictures that you're going to work on, at that point, at the beginning, do you save that to a collection, or do you put those into an individual folder to save them, before you start working on them?
If you've imported them, they are in a permanent file folder then someplace on a hard drive.
Okay,
That's all you need to do. What you can do then at that point is look at being in the library module, and you'll see something like this, all those photographs as thumbnails.
right,
Select them all
right.
and drag them into a collection.
Okay, that's what I've done before, but some people have told me that's not the way to do it. So,
Yes, well, as everything with Adobe, there's always 24 ways to do
I
something.
know. I do it through collections though, and that's how I've
You
always,
want to put it in a collection. I
okay,
guarantee you.
so that's
That's the
safe.
easiest way to do it.
Okay, okay. And I guess I'm doing it right.
If they're all the same, then you can do that at the import as a
Okay,
thing, back over file handling, add to collection, very first thing.
okay, yep,
You work top to bottom on the right side, and you go
Right,
right down.
right. You've given such good
You do everything.
information.
I just want to point out one thing. The catalog is a big file, but it's nothing compared to the size of the pictures themselves. I mean, I think I've got 30 or 40 gigabytes worth of pictures in Lightroom, and the catalog might be 1 or 2 gigabytes. So there's a significant, you know, the catalog is a
Yeah. okay,
big
I see
file.
what you're saying.
The other thing to be aware of is that Lightroom does redo the catalog periodically. It saves the previous catalog and makes a new one, and it keeps doing that. So it builds up a lot of data in old catalogs. Every once in a while, that's important. If you screw
Okay.
something up, you can go back to the previous catalog or back to the catalog from 6 weeks ago. So you don't want to throw them all away, but that can, if you start running out of hard disk space on your main disk, that's a place to look. How many versions of the catalog do you have? If you've got a year's worth,
Okay,
you know, you can throw away a lot of them. So,
yeah,
Lightroom recently, as they upgraded, they changed the catalog information. So they
Oh.
took your old catalog and built a new one out of it with the right links in it here and there, wherever, whatever it is. So when you start up Lightroom, there's a button that says just open the catalog I was using, or it'll give you a choice of all the catalogs you've got.
okay,
I've got a list of a dozen, but I go back 20 years, and back then I was starting to make multiple catalogs because Lightroom was all of a sudden slowing down. Then they fixed that. So I only
Right.
have one catalog that I use anymore, but
and we didn't
I
have
kept
like
it.
terabytes in our computers either.
right.
everything's changed.
Yeah,
I mean, you could buy a 4 terabyte hard drive, for $100.
Does anybody do their Lightroom off from their external hard drive? I'm just curious how that would work.
Well, it slows it down a little bit. If you, it's always quicker to you have the software
That's
as
what I
close
think.
to the computer chip as you can get it.
Okay,
So it takes time to read from a hard drive externally, and they're typically slower than what your computer is,
mm-hmm.
the computer memory. So
And the other thing to keep in mind is
basically
that,
you want to keep Lightroom
yeah,
on the computer. You want the catalog on the computer, but you want all your pictures someplace else
Mm-hmm.
on a hard drive
Mm-hmm.
or in a cloud.
Yes,
In the cloud, they're plenty safe.
yep,
yeah, the other technology change that might be useful to keep in mind at some point is the difference between solid state drives and sort of classic drives. Solid state drives
Right.
are a lot faster. And
right.
I'm not sure whether solid state external drive would be faster than an internal classic drive. I'm not sure that
It
of
is.
that question, but I do know that if you've got an old computer, one of the ways you can revitalize it is just to change the root drive from a classic drive to a solid state drive. That makes an enormous difference because it's that main drive that's getting hit all the time when you do anything in Windows or the Mac. So keep that
That's a
in
good
mind.
point. Okay,
Yeah, the hard drive you get on your desk or the one in the computer, it's mechanical.
mm-hmm.
It's got a reader that's goes in and reads a magnetic disc.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes time for it to go in, find the right spot, read the information, bring it to the computer chip that's processing it.
But yeah, that's the
Solid
difference
state is
between
just-
solid state drives are not mechanical now. So probably the new Macs,
They're
I
just
think
great
my
big
wife
chips.
is, yeah. If you get a
I guess
relatively
those are
new
supposed to be great.
new Mac, it's a solid state. Right.
Yeah.
The other thing I might point out here, for a long time, I've used automatic backup systems. And these are things that you can either set up your computer so it gets backed up to the cloud, all your disks, some of your disks, or they automatically back up to another. Let's say I've got several external drives, and every night this kind of syncing software will look at my photo drive, for example, and say, okay, these files have changed, so I'm going to update them on the backup drive. So I don't have to remember to do any backup. And there are a lot of ways to do that, but I would look into backup strategies and look for something that's automatic, so you don't have to worry about when did I back this up last. So
Good idea.
One of the, it's, took it offline, but when you do the import and you go up to the file handling, the fourth menu item down is make a second copy.
Ah.
Now, that's kind of an instant backup, but you need to be aware that it's not going into the catalog. So any edits you make on your files do not apply to that backup copy. So if you go pull those pictures back in, they're raw. They're just like they came off the camera. Whereas if you do what Jay was just saying, do automatic backup, then it'll copy those things out to a backup location and keep up with the changes.
okay, well, maybe we've exhausted John and everybody else. But if I would give you one word of advice about Lightroom, it's practice. It's not the kind of a program you can pick up, once or twice a month and remember how to do anything. You've got to find some way to use it a lot. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself crazy because you won't be able to remember everything you can do. And also, don't try to learn everything at once. Figure out some workflow that makes sense to you, and then expand that as you get more and more competent and comfortable. So.
Well, it was really good. Thank you so much.
Good.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
All right,
John.
so
That was
we get a
great.
good clean copy, Jay?
Yeah, why don't you just do it again without the technical problems, and I'll record that. I'm just kidding. At least I did record it this time. It's better than my first discussion group when I got to the end and realized I hadn't done it at all. That was quite annoying. But okay, good. Well, I think what we'll do is this polling business, I think, works pretty well. And I may send out a poll then, or John and I, or whatever, about if we want to do this again in this kind of format, what would the next topic be? The sort of the natural progression would be to look at development, the development module in Lightroom, but maybe there's some other thing that people would like to go into in more depth, and we'll try to get some feedback on that, or maybe we just talk about something completely different next time. But I'd like to keep this session up and go ahead.
Class just on what we were talking about with how to do these catalog saving things, as what our group is constantly asking. And they're going and they go on to YouTube, and then they come back with something different. And everybody has all these different ideas and different computers. So most people are getting into just Macs, but not everybody has those. So it'd be really fun to just have one of just teaching people how to save and organize. I'm sure you guys already had that with your first thing that you did, but I was going to talk to John about coming to our group maybe to help us. So, or anybody that like to, they're still all beginners at it.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems. We've got such a
Broad.
wide range of skill.
I know.
Well, the other problem with this
But
is
this
that
was really helpful. Thank you.
unfortunately,
I'm
there-
gonna send some people to this and then become a member and try to start learning some things from you.
good. Yeah, we would like to do more of this. This is the vehicle we would like to use for beginners and intermediates. So we're just experimenting ourselves with this.
Well, that was great. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, John.
thanks, John.
No,
Everybody else,
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
bye-bye.
got that, Amy?
Yes, thank you.